So I've now got the non-cranked pedal fully disassembled, and I spent some time cleaning it up. What you want to make sure you clean is these metal surfaces called cups. There's one in there on this side, and there's also one on this side. This one I couldn't get perfectly clean, but the area that really only needs to be clean is the area where the ball bearings touch, which is that rounded corner in there where it's nice and shiny. So it's already nice and clean. As long as I got all the sand out of there, it's good to go. You also want to make sure you clean the cones, which is the other part that touches the ball bearing. So the pedal goes in here, and there's a set of ball bearings around there, and there's a set of ball bearings around there. So these are called the cones, and you want to make sure you get them nice and clean. This is also a good time to inspect them, and make sure that there's no scoring or pitting that the ball bearings have been causing along there, which will result in a not smooth pedal rotating. So in this case I actually had two sets of hardware to choose from because I took from two different pedals. And I noticed on this cone right there that you can see right there there's a really rough spot where there was maybe some sand or something in there that just totally wore that cone out. But I've got two of them, and this one looks in great shape, so we're going to use this one. Oh, and the other thing you got to clean, of course, is the actual ball bearings. I had two pedals to choose from, and each pedal has two sets of ball bearings, 11 ball bearings in a set for these pedals. And I ended up taking the best set of ball bearings from each, and I'm going to use those when I reassemble. It's a good idea to make sure you keep the ball bearings together as they're set, because all of these ball bearings here have been all together for however long the pedal's been around, so they've all had an equal amount of wear on them, and these ones here have an equal amount of wear on them too. So it's really important to keep them together because, as they wear, the ball bearing gets smaller. So you don't want to have a set of ball bearings where some are smaller and some are bigger, because then some of the smaller ones aren't going to be touching both surfaces, and all the friction is going to be on the bigger ball bearings. So the first step for reassembly is to put grease in both cups where the ball bearings are going to go, and you don't want to put too much, but you want to put enough that it covers it and it's kind of globby like that. Then repeat the same step for the cup that goes at the other end of the pedal. This one's a little bit harder because your access is kind of restricted by this, so you kind of just can get it in there like that, and then use a screwdriver or something, or maybe your finger in there to spread the grease all around in there like that. So I'm going to insert the ball bearings into this end first, and just able to do that with my fingers. So as you do them, count them, make sure there's 11. So there's 1, 2, 3. Alright, they're all in now, and you can see there's no gaps. They're equally spaced all the way around. Now I take my pedal axle, make sure it's the right side. I want a right pedal now, not a left. Push that through like that, and you can still see the bit of the ball bearings in there. And hold that down so the ball bearings don't come out, and then flip it over like that. Now you gotta try and fit another 11 ball bearings into that end, and that one's quite difficult because you can't fit your fingers in there, so I recommend using needle nose pliers to do that. I'm just putting them in one at a time. Just take your time at it. Here goes the first one. One. 2. After I used the needle nose pliers to drop them down all the way around, I used just a small screwdriver just to adjust their position so that they formed a nice circle like they're in right now. So then the first piece of hardware you want to put on this end is this cone. So just a right-handed thread, rotates on. I just use a screwdriver to turn it on. I'm holding the other end with my left hand, making sure that I'm holding the axle from not turning and also from not dropping, because that would result in all my ball bearings falling all over the place. So I've got that cone pretty much all the way in there now. You don't want to tighten it in there or anything, just put it in so that it's finger tight using your little screwdriver you had in there. And I can already feel that it's much smoother than it was before. But anyways, we want to put the rest of the hardware on now, so put that washer on with your fingers and just push it down with a screwdriver so it's all the way down. And then we put this nut in. Now this nut here is actually a lock nut. So the cone is a nut itself, it's threaded. But if it didn't have a lock nut, then the cone would constantly be unscrewing itself and the bearings would become loose all the time. So you need the lock nut in there so that it locks the cone in place. Well, now I've got all the hardware in place where it needs to go, but I want to make sure that I can get my cone in the perfect optimum position so that it's not so tight that I can't turn this, and also so that it's not loose enough that it'll rock. So I'll show you both scenarios. So right there I've got it really tight and it just barely moves. You can see it sort of jumps when you turn it. It doesn't want to turn. So that's too tight, and right like that, it's definitely too loose. So you want to get it so that it's just on the verge of not being able to rock. And after you've got it there, you're going to tighten up the lock nut on the end, but you'll find that as you do that it will adjust the cone a little bit. So you got to go back and forth, trial and error, so that you can get the cone in the right position so that after you've tightened up the nut, it's going to be nice and smooth and not rocking. So after a bit of trial and error of tightening it and loosening the lock nut on and trying the cone in different positions, I think I've figured out the way to have it. So I'm just going to get my socket back on there and tighten my ratchet for tighten. Nice and tight. Now you can see that this turns very smoothly, and at the same time there is no play. So what I've done here is I've converted the pedal from a left hand side pedal and added an axle from a right hand side pedal and made a perfectly good, practically brand new pedal. And I've got two matching pedals that I'll be able to put back on my bike. Oh yeah, but I gotta also put that cap back on, which is just done by hand, no tools required. And there you have it, one remanufactured pedal. Just make sure you remember your rotation direction when you put the pedals back on the bike, and make sure you have the right pedal on the right side. Looks as good as new. That's how you repair the pedals on a bike. Thanks for watching.